What if Scream 8 isn't just another sequel, but the beginning of something far darker? Ever since the events of Scream, the franchise has followed a pattern: a shocking murder, a masked killer obsessed with horror rules, and a final reveal that flips everything upside down. But every great horror saga eventually reinvents itself, and Scream 8 could be the moment this franchise evolves beyond nostalgia and legacy callbacks. Instead of repeating the familiar Woodsboro cycle, imagine a story that intentionally breaks away from everything we expect. A new trilogy could emerge, one that doesn't simply honor the past, but questions whether the Ghostface identity has outgrown its original purpose. In earlier films, the killers were driven by fame, jealousy, revenge, or toxic fandom. They wanted attention. They wanted to be part of the story. But what if Scream 8 introduces a Ghostface who doesn't care about recognition at all? A killer who operates with long-term planning, someone who views the previous massacres as inspiration for a larger ideology rather than a quick burst of notoriety. That shift alone would transform the tone of the franchise. Instead of a reactive mystery, the story could become a psychological war unfolding across multiple films. A dark new trilogy might focus on a single mastermind working behind the scenes, orchestrating chaos in different locations, manipulating others to wear the mask while staying hidden in plain sight. This would elevate Ghostface from a copycat slasher to a calculated symbol of fear. The meta-commentary could evolve too. Instead of poking fun at horror cliches, Scream 8 could analyze the modern obsession with true crime culture, online conspiracy communities, and the way audiences consume violence as entertainment. Imagine a storyline where murders are dissected in real time across social media, where characters debate whether they're part of a sequel, a reboot, or something entirely new. The brilliance of launching a fresh trilogy would be the opportunity to build tension gradually, planting seeds in Scream 8 that won't fully pay off until 2 films later. That slow burn approach could restore unpredictability. After all, fans now expect double killers and shocking final reveals. But what if the real twist is that the killer isn't caught at all? What if Scream 8 ends not with closure, but with the chilling realization that the story has only just begun? A dark new trilogy would also allow the franchise to redefine its heroes. For decades, the survival narrative revolved around legacy characters and the trauma tied to Woodsboro. But horror evolves with its audience, and Scream 8 could introduce protagonists who grew up studying the Ghostface myth the way earlier characters studied horror movies. These new leads wouldn't just know the rules, they would question whether those rules even apply anymore. The killer, meanwhile, could exploit that overconfidence, turning their knowledge against them. Imagine a Ghostface who intentionally spreads misinformation, creating fake clues, staging scenes that mimic past murders, and manipulating survivors into suspecting one another long before the truth is revealed. The trilogy concept would give space to explore themes of legacy fatigue. What happens when a horror icon becomes so ingrained in pop culture that it stops feeling real? In that world, Ghostface wouldn't just be a person in a mask, it would be an evolving myth that adapts to each generation. There's also the possibility of expanding beyond the familiar small-town setting. A new trilogy could move into a larger city, even internationally, showing how the Ghostface persona spreads like a contagion. The scale could feel bigger, but the horror more intimate, focusing on paranoia rather than body count. And perhaps the boldest direction of all would be making the central villain someone who sees themselves as a storyteller rather than a murderer. A mastermind who believes they are crafting the ultimate horror narrative across 3 films, manipulating victims and survivors alike to create the perfect trilogy. That meta layer would be classic Scream, self-aware yet terrifyingly plausible. If Scream 8 commits to this darker foundation, it won't just extend the franchise, it will redefine it. The ending could leave audiences unsettled instead of satisfied, with unanswered questions, and a looming sense that Ghostface has evolved beyond the simple whodunit structure. Instead of asking, "Who's under the mask?" viewers might begin asking, "How deep does the story go?" And that shift in perspective could mark the start of the most ambitious chapter in the franchise's history, a trilogy not about repeating the past, but about transforming Ghostface into something far more calculated, ideological, and impossible to escape.